rest. What are you doing out there? Come on, let's get a little rush out there. Come on out there, put your shoulders in there. Let's get a little pass rush out there. Why? Why we missed it? Why do we miss it? Block through the machine. Let's get lift. That's the way to come out of there. Get away there. Oh, God. Get him out of there, will you? What the hell's going on out here?
Vincent Thomas Lombardi was born on June the 11th, 1913 in Sheepshead Bay, New York, to Italian immigrants Harry and Matilda Lombardi. Harry, a hard-working butcher, had the words work and play tattooed on his knuckles. The Lombardis, devout Catholics, would see young Vince prepare for a life of priesthood, but left the cloak to pursue football his senior year of high school. In 1933, Vince attended Fordham University on a football scholarship. He began playing for a very experienced coach, Jim Crawley, who had grown up in Green Bay and was coached by Curly Lambeau in high school. Jim then went on to play for Newt Rockne at Notre Dame. So needless to say, Vince stood to learn a lot from his new coach. While at Fordham, Vince would meet his one and only girlfriend, Marie. He also became friends with Wellington Mara, the son of the New York Giants owner. In his senior year at Fordham, Lombardi became one of the 7 blocks of granite, a nickname given to the offensive line as they would become one of the greatest offensive line units in college football history. Vince graduated from Fordham in 1937 with a BS degree and started working briefly for a finance company for 1 year before enrolling in Fordham Law School. Law school was not for Vince, so he dropped out when he received a call from a local high school about a teaching job. In 1939, Vince Lombardi was hired by St. Cecilia High School to teach physics, chemistry, Latin, and physical education. He also became the athletic director. He then landed his first ever head coaching job as the men's basketball coach. Wait, what? Lombardi coached basketball?
Vince never played it, Vince never coached it. He goes to the library and he gets a book by the head coach at SMU who wrote this book like, 15, 20 years earlier when the center jump was after every basket. Using that book as his guide, you got to make so many passes. That's what you got to make so many passes. I don't care if you're standing alone of it, you got to make so many passes. So he coaches out of this textbook, which becomes his Bible, and he wins a state championship.
Lombardi coached football at St. Cecilia's for 8 years, 5 as head coach, winning 6 state championships. In 1940, he marries Marie, his college sweetheart, and they have their first child, Vince Jr., 2 years later. In 1947, Vince would return to Fordham University as an assistant football coach. He coached there for 1 year. That same year, his daughter Susan was born. West Point calls in 1948 and offers Vince a job coaching at Army. Lombardi was excited to get a chance to work under head coach Red Blake. He described him as, well, I'll let him describe him for you.
I was a neophyte as far as football was concerned until I went to West Point. Of course, Red Blake was the #1 coach in the country.
After being passed over for the head coaching job at Wake Forest because of his nationality, Vince Lombardi was hired in 1954 by the New York Giants as their offensive coach. Pictured here on the right is Vince Lombardi. On the left, Tom Landry, who would become the Dallas Cowboys head coach. In 1959, Vince Lombardi becomes the head football coach of the Green Bay Packers. Lombardi would bring with him the leadership knowledge he claims he received at Army under Blake and use it to turn the unsuccessful Green Bay Packers into a dynasty. If someone were to describe what Vince Lombardi's leadership style was, they would say he was definitely a transformational leader. The 2 specific factors associated with transformational leadership that Lombardi displayed were idealized influence and inspirational motivation. Lombardi demanded the best out of each and every player and often quoted sacrificing personal gain for success. Lombardi's passion for winning and doing your best inspired all of his players to give their very best to him every single play of every single game, season after season. Many of the famous Lombardi quotes sound as if they came straight out of a transformational leadership textbook.
The big announcement. We are moving to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm going, where's Wisconsin? So the next day, my father comes home with a map. He said, this is the state of Wisconsin. And he's looking, Green Bay. It ain't on the map. And I'm going, well, I'm not moving any place that's not on the map. And he said, when I am done, it will be on that map. And you'll know exactly, Susan, where you
The Green Bay Packers had struggled for the past decade before Lombardi took over. The community was hungry for another championship and were even angered when Curly Lambeau was passed over as the next head coach. In his opening speech to the team, Lombardi said the following: "Gentlemen, we will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it. But along the way, we shall catch excellence." And excellence they did. In his first season, Green Bay finished 7-5, which was much improved from the 1-10 the previous year. His second year, the team finished 8-4, losing what was then called the NFL Championship. In 1961, Green Bay would win an NFL championship as well as in 1962. In 1965, Green Bay would go on to win 3 NFL championships in a row, including the famous Ice Bowl of 1967. Green Bay would play and win the first ever Super Bowl, which for the first time was the NFL versus the AFL. Lombardi would bring home the trophy, not yet named after him, once more the following year, winning Super Bowl II. After coaching the Green Bay Packers for 9 seasons, winning 5 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowls, as well as being the general manager for the team, Lombardi stepped down as head coach for the 1968 season. For the first time since he could remember, Lombardi was watching football as a spectator. It only took 1 season for Vince to realize how much he missed the game and took the head coaching job for the Washington Redskins. In his one and only season coaching the Redskins, Lombardi finished 7-5, the same record he finished with in his first season with the Packers. Sadly, Vincent Thomas Lombardi died of colon cancer on September 3, 1970. Throughout his life, Vince was a teacher, a coach, a husband, and a father. His knack for motivating others still lives on today. Many of his famous quotes are found not only in locker rooms all over the nation, but they can be found displayed on the walls of many businesses and boardrooms as well. The Super Bowl trophy, shown here being held by Vince Lombardi after Super Bowl II, would later become known as the Lombardi Trophy. I would like to give a special thanks to my mom and dad for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch a Super Bowl in person. This is us at Super Bowl 28. I love you both very much. I would next like to thank my former college teammate and good friend Scott Autry, who provided me with many of the Green Bay photos from his visit to Lambeau Field. And lastly, a special thanks to my good friend Troy Fields, whom I coached with at Greenwood High School. Most of the football field footage from this film was shot at Pinky Babb Stadium in Greenwood, South Carolina, with help from Troy. Head coach Pinky Babb had met Lombardi back in the mid-1960s and jokingly asked for some of the G stickers for their helmets. Lombardi mailed him some of the decals, and Greenwood began wearing the G.